So good evening, everybody, and welcome to this webinar for the National Engineering Month New Event Organizers in Ontario. My name is Erica, and I'm going to be presenting about a half hour's worth of information to you tonight. And for those watching on the video replay, I hope that this is useful to you as well. Myself and Alan, my team member, have offered up our email information here. We are your first line of defense against any questions that you have around putting on a National Engineering Month event, as well as any questions related to the broader campaign. We coordinate National Engineering Month in Ontario on behalf of these organizations whose logos you see here. So the first thing I want to do is let you know that tonight we're going to talk a little bit about last year's National Engineering Month campaign, which was actually this calendar year, March 2014. We're now considering last year, and we're coming up, of course, into the roll-up for March 2015. So the theme, again, is Make a World of Difference, and we'd like to talk a little bit about what we offer to organizers, and then what we would like organizers to commit to us in exchange. I'll give you some next steps and then open the lines for questions and answers. So how do we measure the success of a campaign, you might be wondering? Well, the truth is that we do it on both a quantity and quality basis. So we want to reach as many people as possible to let them know what engineering and engineering technology are all about and make sure that they're really excited and inspired about it. In the case of youth, we want them to consider it as a potential career path. And in the case of everybody else, meaning parents, teachers, guidance counselors, just members of the general public, we want them to get a little bit more of an understanding of what it is that engineers do and who engineers are, engineering and technology professionals together. So this is the quantity part of how far our message is getting out. We ran 140 events back in 2012, and we were pretty close to that again in 2013. In 2014, we managed a really big jump up to 187 events across Ontario. We were super pleased with that because it meant we were able to engage just that many more people. So 27,000 people, that's like a small city or a large town, I guess, people engaged in person across Ontario. Our traditional media, so that's newspapers and magazines, was up over 1.4 million. We were engaged people via the website. That's nemontario.ca. If you're not familiar with it, I hope that you will bookmark it and keep checking it out because there's lots of good stuff there. And then also reach through our social media campaign through impressions there, almost 500,000. So as you can see, we've enjoyed some really great growth in the last couple of years on the quantity front and on the quality front as well, which I'll get to in a little bit. You might be wondering who's hosting these events. Well, remember those logos from the beginning. The founding partners, Professional Engineers Ontario and the Ontario Association of Certified Engineering Technicians and Technologists, that's OSET. EWB stands for Engineers Without Borders, and then the green is Other, which includes NGSOC. The NGSOCs across Ontario have collaborated before and gotten involved. We also have some other community organizations that jump up. So you'll see from last year, meaning 2013 into 2014, the year before, EWB fairly consistent, PEO managed to grow, OSET managed to double, more than double in fact, when you count in the events that they ran as joint with other organizations, and Other came up quite a bit as well. So we were really pleased to see growth in all of those areas from those different organizations. Here are some of those organizations that came on board to partner with us. Science Expo, which does a really fabulous job of working with high schools. They actually talk about science, technology, engineering, and math. There's the ESCO logo for the Engineering Student Societies, IEEE, Girl Guides, the Fire Protection Students Association. So we really were very happy to see so many different organizations that share this common goal of letting the public and youth know about how great engineering is. Having everybody come together for this celebration. We've seen a lot of good things going on, but also a lot of siloing, like people just keeping to themselves. So we're really trying to bring everybody together. We're also looking at partnerships with our sponsor organizations, so the companies that give us money in order to make these events happen throughout March. We also encourage them to get together with us to tell stories that synchronize with our themes and the way that we describe engineering, what we describe it as being about. Just a couple of our themes: sustainability, creativity, forming the future, innovation, teamwork, protecting water, global social impact, taking care of people, all those sorts of things. Those are the types of stories that we want to tell to paint this picture of what engineering really is, contrary to people's stereotypes. We know that the young people are online, so we are online as well. We have, as I mentioned, nemontario.ca. We also have a presence on Facebook, on Twitter, and last year we revived our Instagram account. So please, if you're not already, get following us, get tweeting with us, get posting with us, and if you have any children or people around you that you think would be interested in this content, we really do make it engaging and interesting for people. So it's not just for us insiders. This is the quality piece that I was talking about. We use clear and deliberate messaging. So what does that mean? It means our goal is to change the public perception of what engineering and technology is about. I'm sure we're all familiar with the negative stereotypes that are associated with engineering. And those can be sometimes very funny and interesting to laugh at. It can be a source of entertainment, but it can also be very damaging to the inclusiveness that engineering then enjoys, because it's possible, for example, that then fewer girls and young women will feel welcome in the profession, or that different types of people from other nationalities will not feel welcome practicing in Ontario, for example. So we really do want to use purposeful and positive and very impactful messages. So sometimes this takes just a little bit of recalibrating of our expectations, because we might think, hey, let's just show them the coolest technology we can think of, and that's what they're really going to like, and let's give them as much detail about it as possible. And I'm sure, as you can imagine, that's not what the average everyday person or what the average everyday young kid is going to dream about. That's not what's going to inspire them to give them all that technology. There is a certain wow factor, but we really want to follow it up as well with some meaning and some context, something that really matters to them, which is why we're using these messages. So these messaging guidelines, the first one says there's a diverse set of challenges out there in this world today, and we need a diversity of thinkers, because engineering is all about problem solving, and technology is all about finding solutions to these problems. There's a place for you in engineering and technology. So we just come right out and say that. We're being very inclusive, very open in our messaging, especially to young children. That's very important, that they feel that they would be welcome to come along and be part of our profession. Engineering and technology shape the world around us, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. This is a fun one. You can talk this out with kids, especially. They really enjoy this, talking about, well, what did the world look like 100 years ago? Did it look anything like it does now? No. Well, why? What are the things that are different? And they'll be like, cars, cell phones, the internet. And, engineering made all that stuff happen. So get them brainstorming about, well, what could the future look like? What's the next big thing that engineering and technology is going to bring us? That's a pretty fun one to engage some brainstorming. The third messaging guideline, creativity and imagination to turn ideas into reality. Again, remember, we're breaking stereotypes here. We're using statements that are very truthful. I mean, engineers do have to be creative and innovative, and they do have to use their imagination to take something from a concept through to prototyping, through to actual reality. And I think that's where a lot of us really get a charge out of engineering, is that it is so tangible, that there is that sort of outcome to it. And we want people to know about that and how exciting that is, that you can make something happen that didn't exist before. The fourth messaging guideline, this one's all about safety, health, and happiness. I guess there's another angle here, locally and globally. So talking about engineering and its impact around the world, it's people working for people. So again, there's a negative stereotype about engineering, that everyone's very sort of antisocial and just into technology. We really want to humanize the profession and help people understand that it really is about people. Engineers care, and they make a world of difference. So those are our messaging guidelines, and we definitely encourage our event organizers to integrate those into their presentations, into their events. And if you're interested, you can look up the National Academy of Engineering's Changing the Conversation campaign. That's where this came from. And these messages are actually proven through research to sort of light up the hearts and minds of people who hear them, unlike some other ways of describing engineering that we might be more familiar with. So that's the first thing we're asking. Use the messaging guidelines, please, 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 because there's good research, good data that says that this is the best way to talk about engineering. So we encourage you to just weave them into your scripts, use examples, really make them your own. You know, you can use your own words to describe them. We have a measurement tool for this. I know we all love to speak with data. We love to know if something's really working. We have this participant survey. So I don't have a full screenshot of just the survey. This at the bottom you can see, this is mainly for children. Circle your gender, tell us your age, and then give us 3 words to describe engineering and technology. So this is immediately after the presentation or the event. You hand these surveys to the kids, you get them to fill them out. It's very, very quick, you know, 2-3 minutes, a couple questions. And this 13-year-old girl thinks that engineering and technology is fun, cool, and very interesting. So that's much better than probably what she thought going in, since that age group, especially for girls, tends to sort of turn against math and science and start to say, no, it's too hard, I can't do it, it's not for me, it's not cool. We do want them to feel like it's cool and it's something that they can really be a part of and embrace. This one here, you fail many times, but then you finally get it right. You can see this was from a design workshop that one of the participants was doing. So it's really nice to see these surveys. They're really fun and they're good for you because you get some instant feedback about how your message is landing. I know obviously we don't want to feel like we're just hoping that we're doing good outreach. We want to actually know we're doing good outreach. So to that effect, we have another tool that we ask you to use, which are the event checklists. And this will make sense in a moment when I say we have the basics, we have advanced elements, and then we have bonus elements. So as new event organizers, you might not be up for, you know, going totally into tons and tons of detail, going overboard to run a super complex event. You might just want to stick to the basics. In that case, these are the things you need to think about before your event, during the event, and after the event. And we have these mapped out for all of the different requirements. So here is the scorecard, and this is another this is another tool that we offer you and that we in fact require that you submit to us completed. So this is just a sample one that you can see here. These are the basics that I mentioned. So the basic elements are messaging, which were those 4 statements that I just went over with you about diversity and shaping the future and creativity and imagination to turn ideas into reality, and health, safety, and happiness. I've got them memorized by now. I've used them often enough. So how well did you do with your messaging? You're going to use your surveys to figure out whether you managed to deliver all of the ones that you meant to. We're going to look at your attendance. So you expected 30 kids between grades 1 and 8, and oh, you got 30 kids. You expected 10 high schoolers, and you got 12. You weren't expecting any of these elements. For 1, zeros across the board, so that's fine. And it's an Excel spreadsheet. It basically calculates a score for you. So measures attendance, messaging, as I said, budget, that's also obviously very important. We put media in as a basic as well because we found that what was happening a lot of the time was that people were doing really, really good stuff, but they were keeping it sort of under wraps. It would be, you know, one room of 30 people would have the most amazing presentation, but then once it was over, it was completely over and it was like it didn't happen. So we're encouraging you to do things like taking photos, doing write-ups that end up online. You can send us photos, you can send us write-ups, we'll put them on our website, you can put them on, if you've got an organization website or a chapter website, maybe your town has a local reporter. There are really lots of things you can do as far as media that we're definitely encouraging you to do as well. So you're telling a story and you're allowing all of your hard work that you put into the event to go further because it's reaching more people. And as you can see here, the scorecards will be mailed to you. It'll be all pre-populated with your information that you're going to give us so that then you use it. You fill it out right after your event and send it back to us, and then we will send you the second half of your funding. So I'll get to the funding in a little more detail in a minute, but I wanted you to see the scorecard. This is mandatory for all event organizers, and it's not too bad. It doesn't take too long to fill out, and hopefully it's also, as I said, a good planning tool so you know the things that you really need to prioritize to get right. The theme is Make a World of Difference. So there's a lot that you can do with this theme as you weave it into the script that you use when you're talking to participants. Maybe it becomes a theme in the presentations if you're planning to do that. Making a world of difference to people, anything that impacts people's quality of life, maybe talking about infrastructure and other things that people take for granted, things that are out there in the world, maybe problems that exist around the world so that you could get that global impact. What are engineers doing in different countries to help increase the quality of life in developing nations, for example, or maybe even space, who knows, like out of this world. Everybody loves talking about Chris Hadfield and the way that he saw such cool stuff, and he's basically an engineer who's a rock star, you know. He's great in that way. We don't have too many other engineers that are rock stars, and I dare say we need some more. So anyway, Make a World of Difference is your theme. Do with it what you will. So here's the part where I offer you some stuff. First of all, I would like to offer you to apply for NEM funding. So we do have some, NEM stands for National Engineering Month, in case you hadn't picked up on that already. There are two types of funding that we're offering: regular event funding and outreach innovation funding. So ideally you're applying on behalf of an organization, a student association, a club, some kind of community organization, something that shows us that you've got some connections and some affiliations in order to put on a really successful event. But we're not really picky as far as who it could be. We've had individuals apply as well and tell us what they plan to do, especially maybe some retired engineers. They can get right into it. We've had teachers apply. We even had a PN who was working in a healthcare facility put on an open house at a hospital to talk about medical engineering. So we've really seen all sorts of different events, and we really encourage you as the event organizer to get creative and get excited about your event. Just do something really cool that you think that the public or that youth really need to know. Find a way to expose them to those ideas and make it happen. We will support you. Offer number 2 is that we'd really like you to join a community. So I showed you all of the organizations that are involved in putting on National Engineering Month. This is fantastic because it's not really like this in other provinces. As far as I know, they tend to work more separately, more sort of a siloed approach. We really feel that one of the strengths is bringing together all the different organizations to speak from one playbook, so to speak, one song sheet. We're all singing the same tune. We're all talking about these messaging guidelines. That's going to result in a much more powerful campaign. And so to that end, we want to connect you as a community, have you talking to each other, whether you're an engineering student or a college student, maybe you're a retired engineer, maybe you're someone who runs a women in tech group. All of you are welcome. There is a place for you in National Engineering Month, and we encourage you to be part of the community by subscribing to our newsletter. We will be profiling different members. We'll be giving you tips and helping support you as you go through your planning cycle. So you can subscribe to that and check out some of the other stuff we've got here at this Engineering Outreach Resources link. Finally, we encourage you to reach out to us for support. We're going to be holding some webinars that are going to be in a similar format to this one leading up to March 2015 to help you with various aspects of what you're doing. We can help you design a new workshop if you've got an idea. We know people who are really good with that kind of thing. We can link you to other types of help. For example, if you want some volunteers for your event, we very regularly have people referred to us through the Ontario website, so we can find people in your area. We can connect you to other organizations in your community that are doing a similar thing. If you don't have an affiliation, we can definitely help you find one. And as I mentioned, we've got those measurement tools for you. So that's the survey that helps you get that instant feedback as to whether your message is landing properly with your participants. The scorecard, which is a tool that you use to help plan and then to evaluate yourself on how well you performed to plan. The messaging guidelines, which were those 4 statements that I went through. These are hopefully all sort of help and support and food for thought for you as you go through what you would need to do to put on a really amazing outreach event. So this stuff, a lot of it is available for download. Some of it will be emailed to you. And again, if you look at nemontario.ca and go to the professionals portal, I think you have to click on the Start Here button on your on the menu bar and then select professionals. That's where all the goodies are. So we asked people about this time last year when they were putting in their funding requests. What are the items of support you'd like? They said, we want to know how to do effective messaging, how to do good promotion of the events, how to recruit people, so volunteers, I'm guessing, although it could be participants as well, and how to plan. We had a few more specific specific requests. Could we have a letter from National Engineering Month? Could you help us find a larger venue? Help us identify some speakers or guests for our event. I guess those people were putting on a conference or a symposium sort of thing. And could you send a presence as a booth? So the answer to all of these questions is yes, we can. We would like to know if these are still the things that you're interested in. We will probably hold webinars. We can put together newsletters. We can also have sort of downloadable things available for you to look at. So if there are other items specifically that you're confused on, you have lots of options. You can get to us, and if we get back to us, and if we hear a lot of the same topic, then we will definitely work to create some materials to meet that need, because that's our job. That's what we do. So here we go with the regular event funding application. You need to fill out this form, and you can download it from our website, that spot that I just told you, the professionals portal. We need to receive it totally filled out, ready to go by Friday, November 28th at 5. So put that on your calendar right now. That's when the funding applications are due. We don't mind if you want to give them to us at the last minute, although you're welcome to give them to us sooner, and then we would have time to get back to you if we have any questions. So you have to remember that our goal is to change public perception of what engineering and technology are about, so we definitely need to make sure that our events are open to the public. So that's a criteria as well that you'll need to consider. Maximum funding we're able to offer is $700 per chapter, and that cannot exceed 50% of your budget. So let's say you're putting on an event and your total costs are $400. We would give you up to $200. On the other hand, let's say you're putting on a slightly bigger event and your budget is $1,800, we could give you up to $700. So we wouldn't be able to give you half, because that would be $900. That would be greater than $700, so it's maximum of $700 or 50% of the budget. So hopefully that makes sense. You're welcome to put on joint events. For example, PEO and OSET often will get together and put on joint events. However, in that case, the amount of funding that each organization will get per single event gets halved, because there are now 2 organizing groups. That's something that's tripped us up in the past, so that's good to know. Please submit one form for every different event or activity. If you're putting on one event that's going to have, a couple of different dates, but it's the same thing, then one form is fine. So we need your answers. Obviously, we need your name, what your affiliation or your organization is. We need a full address, please. Very important that you don't forget to put in your city as well as your postal code. Please don't give us a P.O. box. Make sure it's a complete address and that it has a contact person. For example, an exact street address, because we're going to be sending you merchandise. We'll be sending you big boxes full of good stuff that you don't want to lose, and we need to make sure that that address doesn't get, that the package doesn't get kicked back to us. That would be a real shame. So we also would like a telephone number and an email, please. Next, we need the information about your event. What's the name of the event? And hopefully it's something really, interesting and inspiring that's going to really catch people's attention. What are the dates of the event? Where is your event? What's the address? So this is all important stuff. This will all be going on the events section of our website. And you give us a little bit of a description, that'll go on the website as well. So remember, these are events that are open to the public. You're hoping that, kids or teenagers or parents or maybe the whole family will drop by your event, and we will use our website to promote it for you. They'll be able to come to our website, search by where in the province they're located, and they'll be able to find all the activities for their city, their region. Next, we want you to talk about your target audience. So who is it specifically that your activity is designed for? Who is it that you want to really speak to through your event? And is it students at an elementary school level, high school, post-secondary? Is it young professionals, more established professionals, or members of the general public? And we'd ask you to just estimate how many of each category of person you're expecting. And you remember on the scorecard, you're going to check yourself against how well you were able to plan. So this isn't of critical importance, but it is a good thing to get. If you get more people than you thought, that's obviously a good thing, because then you're reaching more people, but you might not have enough supplies, or you might not have enough time to deal with them all. You might not have enough food if food is part of your plans. So you do want to get good, as a general rule, at estimating pretty well how many people are going to come. But for the first time, give it a stab, see what you can figure out, and obviously doing an event is better than not doing it. So we're definitely very supportive of first-timers especially. Now we're getting into the messaging. So you remember these messaging guidelines, here they are. Which ones do you want to demonstrate or convey through your event? And how do you plan to do it? Are you going to do it through signs, the things your volunteers are going to be saying at your event? Is it going to be built right into the activity? We think that's a fabulous idea. Is it going to be in the write-up of the local media or the blogs? Maybe you're planning to do the write-up. And then finally, we do want you to pay a bit more attention to media. We do suggest that when you're working with your team to organize your event, that you do have somebody who's just in charge of media. Designate them as the coordinator. They can be in charge of the social media. They can either take photos or they designate a photographer. Bring some local media if you've got a newspaper in your town, or I don't know, maybe a local service club who would like to come see as well. Invite some local dignitaries. Lots of people invite their members of parliament, their mayor. They really do love this stuff, especially seeing kids and the general public getting excited doing interesting little games or activities. That's really good stuff. People love to be around for that and talking about how this is so important for our future. So yeah, feel free to think outside the box as far as who you want to invite to your event. And anything else that you think might work as far as telling the story of your event to a broader audience than just those people who would be in the room. Next, promotional material. So first of all, we get a free NEM souvenir from Engineers Canada, and that's free. So last year it was a Rubik's Cube with a little National Engineering Month logo on it. The year before it was a pen that was sort of a robotic kind of transformer-like folding thing. They were very, very popular. So we'll give you some of those for free. Let us know how many you want. If you want to plan to give one out to everybody that comes to your event, that's fabulous. They walk away with a little souvenir and it doesn't cost you anything. The next thing is event posters. So we take care of the design and printing. You just need to let us know how many that you want. And we'll have 3 different designs, one designed for youth, one aimed at university and college students, and one aimed at the public and professionals. So just let us know which of those 3 categories would you like. And what we normally do is leave a white space at the bottom of the poster, so you'll have space to get a Sharpie and write at the bottom, welcome, our event is in room 22, or if you're holding it at a conference center or a school building or that type of thing. So you can use that as a sign as well as a poster. So just let us know how many of those you would like. We also, this is a bit of a wild card, but it worked really well last year. We invite the companies that are giving us money to put on these events, which tend to be technology companies and utilities, some banks, to give us, and universities as well, to give us some of their branded merchandise. So we have more stuff to give out. Last year, Ryerson came through in a pretty big way. They gave us lots of cute little heart hat stress balls. We had some globe stress balls. We had water bottles. They gave us what else? Let's see, tote bags. We had a lot of Ryerson merchandise. So you can add, if you feel you're going to have a lot of people and you want to sort of bulk up on merchandise, let us know what you're looking for. We can't totally guarantee because we don't really know what we're going to get from the sponsors until they give it to us. But that's something, if you're interested, you can request it here. So that's the free stuff. Here is the subsidized stuff. So we have, and if you've seen any photos of the campaigns from previous years, hopefully you're familiar with the t-shirt. Last year they were a nice bright green color. The year before they were sort of a powder blue. This year they'll be a different color again. We need to figure that out. They cost us more than this, but we're going to let you have them for $3 per unit, and you just need to let us know which sizes you want. So we will subsidize you at the $3 cost up to 15 t-shirts total, so enough for probably all of your volunteers. If you need more than that, let us know what your circumstances are and we can make an arrangement to build that into your budget. Probably what we would need to do there is just to arrange for you to pay for the t-shirts as sort of a pass-through cost. So this way we are staying fiscally responsible in the campaign as a whole, but we're still giving you the opportunity to have t-shirts, and those who want more can pay for them. Here's that question that I was asking about before. What type of additional support would you like from the team? Recruiting volunteers, planning, messaging, promoting, or anything else. So here's where you tell us what it is that you need, anything you're nervous about or you're curious about that you would like more support on. Finally, and this is very, very important, I cannot stress enough how often this gets filled out incorrectly and causes lots of heartache because we have to go back and forth and we have to find out what you mean, and we really can't award the funding unless this is properly filled out. So it's pretty straightforward. Go through, you're going to make a budget of your expenses. How much do you plan to spend on the venue? How much are you spending on food? How much are you spending on, I don't know, what else you need to spend money on in order to put an event on? Maybe you're doing some advertising or having some materials brought in so that people can build something, for example. Estimate all that, put that here as your total expenses, and then your description of your revenue. So the funding request from us, that is one item. You place the amount that you're asking for in this box right here, and then you put in where the rest of the money is coming from, because remember I said that our funding amount can add up to half, 50% of the total event budget. So where are you getting the rest of that revenue? Is it from your service club? Is it from a fundraiser? Have you found a local sponsor who's interested in getting involved with your event? This is might seem obvious, but we want to say total expenses and revenue must balance. Okay, so we really can't approve an event that isn't balanced. Finally, there's another note just below this revenue table here. Remember that the amount that you're requesting, it can't exceed 50% of the event budget to a maximum of $700. So this is for the regular event funding. And let's see, I acknowledge you've read all the guidelines. That's good. And then you would need to let us know whether you have liability insurance or not. Okay, so most of the events, if you're holding an event in affiliation with a PEO chapter, they have their own insurance, as does OSET, as does Engineers Without Borders, as does the Ontario Society of Professional Engineers. We would, I guess, address it on a case-by-case basis if it turned out that your organization did not have insurance in one form or another. So that's it. That's the whole form. I want to let you know, if you're looking at this and saying, you know, I could do the greatest thing ever if only I had more money. I need more than $700. Well, you're in luck. If you're planning on doing something that's truly innovative, and we'll get into the definition of that in a moment, we do have an additional pool of money set aside, especially for innovations in outreach. So what this means basically is it's only available for new events. We regularly see bridge building, mathletics, school presentations, design competitions, you know, this type of thing. Unless it's really special and different in some way that you can sell us on, that you can justify, you really, that wouldn't qualify as innovation. You really want this to be something that's brand new. So I guess here's just a note about how we're really trying to change the way people think. We're trying to buck the status quo, and we also want to own that engineering and technology, it's really about innovation. It's about forming the future. So why shouldn't our outreach activities reflect that as well? Why shouldn't we be innovative in the way that we reach out? So here are the ways that we recognize innovation. One is highlighting the global or social context of engineering. So educate your youth audience, for example, of how they could grow up and really help people by becoming, you know, engineering and technology professionals. An example here is the Engineers Without Borders Water for the World project, which basically the kids get to build a water filter, so they learn a little bit about the technology involved there, but the broader lesson to them is more about the situation behind the global shortage of potable water for people, and sort of what factors determine that, and how that has an effect on human life and human health. It's really interesting, and don't worry, no one drinks the water. It's a really well done activity. Next category of innovation, new partnerships or collaborations. So if you can get together, remember I was saying there are often a lot of different silos, people doing good things but in their own little clumps, not really talking to each other or crossing up with anyone else. If you can bring some organizations together, say, look, we all want to educate and inspire here. Why don't we get together? We'll all agree that we're going to run this particular event, or we're going to do this particular set of activities at the same time, and we're going to coordinate it this way, and we'll have a judge, and everything will be uploaded to this one webcam, and it'll be totally cool. That would be something, with sort of multiple stakeholders, a large coordinated activity. That would be fantastic. So the Rube Goldberg event that you might have seen is coordinated by ESCO, by the Engineering Student Societies. I think it was 9 universities in 2013. I don't know how many it was last year. Again, this would be an example. If this hadn't been done already, this would be a great innovation. Public space engagement, really what we're getting at here is if you had a random group of people walking by you. Sometimes we have a booth at the CNE, or sometimes we'll put a stand or some signs in a mall. So you've got people walking by you. If you had, 2 or 3 minutes of their attention, what would you most want them to know about engineering, and how could you create that experience for them and put that message across? You probably need some kind of visual, a sign maybe that sits up behind you or sits on the table in front of you, on a, some kind of table, I guess. You need that as well. Something that engages them, that brings them in, that sort of piques their curiosity, and then some kind of measurable, some kind of message that you want them to walk away with. What's the takeaway? Do they get a little souvenir? Is there something they can pick up? That would be just great. And we have had a couple of booths designed that basically once you perfect the recipe and you know it works and you know it's appealing to people, you can reuse that idea. So we're sort of getting past this idea of every year we have to reinvent the wheel, and it's sort of an events-based thing that never ever ends. It's developing assets that we can then reuse and share amongst different organizations in the community. So the last category of innovation is promoting emerging or underrepresented disciplines in engineering or technology. So we're all pretty familiar, and I'm guessing a lot of kids at this point are also familiar with building bridges. They kind of know that engineers do that. But what about biomedical? What about systems? What about nanotechnology, software? What other things are going on out there that maybe some of us don't even know about that we would be interested to hear about or to think about? This is really where we're getting at that creating the future element of engineering, and how that is really, the things that come out of these innovations will really form the world tomorrow. So here are a couple of other sort of questions to prompt you to say, am I really being innovative, or do I just think I am? This is my favorite, this very first one. Is it going to challenge people's way of thinking? Challenge their perception about engineering and technology? Is it something they're really going to remember? Is it going to cause them to question the role of engineering and technology? Are you exploring a new teaching method? Is this going to get people excited, really inspire passion? Is it going to encourage diversity of thinkers? I mean, I think that we really know that you sit in front of a group of people, whether it's just a group of kids or a more general slice of the population. There's going to be a group of people that absolutely love what you have to say. They're just going to be totally bought and sold on it. There are going to be a group of people that are not interested no matter what. They're definitely not they're not going into engineering. They're not open to it. Fine. But there's this big squishy middle, right? 70 to 80% of people who could really be interested and could, kids that could be excellent in engineering, and they just don't have it explained to them properly what it is and truly what it could be for them. So you really want to excite interest in them. And in prospective students, be thinking about those people who could make great engineers and great engineering technologists if they just had the right explanation, and decide how you want to provide it. So here are just some examples of some different cool innovations that people did last year. I'm not going to describe them one by one. Suffice it to say there were a number of really cool things that people did. Not everything worked, but a lot of things did, and we thought that these were the sort of top 5 most memorable things. So we had a couple of booths. We had a new event that was called Engineering Family Day, which encouraged groups of families to come out, and they had sort of a carnival-like atmosphere, all sorts of different activities for them all under one roof. There was another that was called Engineering for a Diverse World, where kids got a passport and they had to have it stamped, and they'd go to a different room to learn about a different type of engineering. And so by the end, they had sort of taken this trip around the engineering world. I thought that was really cute. And this Girl Guides activity that was Mission to Mars. So there was a colony building exercise, which encouraged them to think about urban planning. And then right after that, they got to build their own little space vehicle. So here are some highlights from the innovations I thought were really cool. And here's actually a group of Girl Scouts from Quebec who downloaded the recipe to this mission to Mars and did it by themselves and sent us this photo. So this was sort of a double innovation in a way. Not only did this event organizer do an amazing job designing a new activity that was very innovative and exciting, really provoked kids' imagination to be thinking about life on Mars and what kind of things we would need there. But then she also uploaded everything online and encouraged people to download it. So she was really sharing, paying it forward into the community. So we have, things like this happening where we have this this group of kids in Quebec doing this awesome little exercise and getting excited there. So to recap, you can get up to $700 per event in regular event funding, and that's going to be payable in 2 installments. We'll give you half up front and half after we get your scorecard for normal events, so not new events, right? Innovation events, the amount depends on the applications received and also depends on the quality of your application. What I can tell you, if you're planning to apply for innovation funding, give us more, not less. Okay, so give us more explanation, write more, think more about it, because sometimes we would get applications with just 1 or 2 lines, and that really just didn't give us enough to go on in order to award the funding. So err on the side of giving us too much, I would say, and that's only, as I said, for new events, and we would encourage you to think about one of those 4 categories. We don't put a cap on innovation funding because it does depend on how many applications we get. And we also don't want you to feel bound by, oh, how much money can I get, or just think outside that box and what would you like to do and how can we help you make it happen. In both cases, whether you're going for regular innovation funding and innovation funding or just regular funding, you'll get t-shirts, you'll get posters, and NEM merchandise. So remember, the t-shirts are subsidized, $3 per t-shirt. You need to include that in your budget. Up to 15 t-shirts, and the posters and NEM merchandise are free. We'll also ship them to you. Either way, scorecard, and we encourage you to use the participant surveys. The workshops and webinars are available. The outreach library, which is online, where I showed you before, and the NEM Ontario Steering Committee makes the final decisions. So just worth noting, I'm not the one who makes the decisions. I will, however, as much as I understand your idea, I can help the committee understand it as well, and hopefully we'll be able to work with everybody that wants to work with us. So here are some dates to remember. Friday, November 28th, this is when your completed funding applications are due to us. December 14th, December 2014, sometime that month, the committee will meet together for the final time in the year. We will go over all the applications, make funding decisions, and we will get back to you. We will also start uploading all of the event listings onto nemontario.ca/events. It takes quite a while, so we'll start right away as soon as we know which events we're holding. And then we will also make a list of the webinars that we're planning to hold throughout January, because of course we'll have all your requests by then, and we'll give that to you so you can put those things on your calendar and plan to tune in for the events that are of most interest to you, the subjects that are of most interest to you. Finally, in January, we give you your blank scorecards so that you can fill them in, and we issue your first funding payment. So that'll be half of the money upfront, so you can get started on all of your preparations. February 15th, we will be shipping you the merchandise. You will get it by the end of February. Often it arrives, we send everything by FedEx, so it arrives fairly promptly, and you'll definitely get it in time for your event in March. you'll hold your event in March, and it's pretty crazy in a good way. And everyone's doing their events and, tweeting and Facebooking and posting photos and all that good stuff. Send us in your scorecard. We recommend you do it as soon as possible after you've finished your event. Send that in to us, and then we will issue the second funding payments on April 10th. We will meet right after we get all the scorecards and issue the next set of checks. If we don't get your scorecard by April 10th, that's okay. You can still get paid, but you'll just expect that there will be a little bit of a delay because the committee won't be together again to issue the approvals and issue the signatures on the checks until a little bit after that. You have until June 15th, 2015 to get us your scorecard. Get it into us by June 15th, you will get the second half of your funding. If we don't get your scorecard by June 15th, 2015, we will not distribute the second payment. And this just comes from us recognizing that we really do need to keep the books tidy. We need to be able to close the book on the year and move on to the following year. We don't want to have a lot of delay in getting all of that taken care of. So thank you in advance for promptly distributing your scorecards. So that is all the information I have for you. I thank you very much for sticking with me through this long webinar. I wanted to give you lots of information to make sure that you felt really prepared and enlightened on what you're signing up for. I guess besides all of these logistical details and directives and commitments and things, I should let you know that this is really fun. We really love National Engineering Month. We believe in it as an investment in our future. We feel that we're bringing together a whole bunch of different people who share a common objective, and it really does make a difference. Sometimes I meet and I talk to young engineering students and young professionals who say, I had an engineering outreach activity in my classroom, and it was so cool, and that's what made me decide that this is the career path I wanted to follow. So it's here and there, it's hit and miss, but it does happen, and to me that's just really exciting. It's an honor to be part of this. So we hope you will join us in March and that you will choose to be part of National Engineering Month. And I am now going to open the floor for questions.